Before we get into the meat of this guide, I want to say this directly to every dedicated history buff and survival-minded viewer. If you value deep dives like this, subscribe to Legacy of Survival and share this video with someone who appreciates serious, well-researched content. What you're about to hear isn't recycled trivia. These are real wartime practices adapted for real modern scarcity, a bridge between historical resilience and the challenges everyday households face in 2025. And yes, people used these methods because they worked, not because they sounded clever in theory. 1 minute of your attention here will set the tone for the rest of this guide during World War II. Civilians endured shortages we can barely comprehend today. Sugar slashed, meat rationed to ounces, wheat restricted, coffee nearly impossible to get. Yet families still fed themselves consistently, creatively and nutritionally. Those home front innovations didn't disappear. They've just been forgotten. If 2025 is teaching us anything between supply chain disruptions, rising prices and uncertainty, it's that the world may be different, but the solutions aren't new. Now, let's get into the 8 World War II food rationing tricks that still work today, and how you can use them right now in your own kitchen or pantry with real, practical steps. The first trick is stretching high-value foods without sacrificing nutrition. Wartime households rarely serve meat without extending it. They mixed it with grains, vegetables or crumbs, so each portion fed more people without feeling smaller. So, in 2025, this still works, you know. If you're cooking ground beef, you can fold in lentils or finely diced mushrooms in a 1-to-1 ratio. The texture stays intact, and the calories increase while the cost drops instantly. The British Ministry of Food promoted vegetable fillers not as compromises, but as, well, smart resource management. You can apply this today with eggs as well. Just whisk in a spoon of flour, a little milk or mashed potato to stretch breakfast into a full meal. The second trick is mastering single-pot efficiency. Wartime kitchens didn't just save ingredients, they saved fuel and time. One-pot meals allowed families to cook with minimal energy while reusing every scrap of flavour. For 2025, this means shifting away from multi-dish dinners and towards stews, chowders, pilafs and braised dishes that transform cheap ingredients into layered meals. Start with hard vegetables like carrots and onions. Add your grains or beans, then add broth and aromatics. The wartime principle was simple. Fewer burners, fewer ingredients, more nutrition. You'll notice right away that you buy less and waste less when meals follow this structure. Now, the third trick is reviving the concept of planned leftovers. During the Second World War, households simply couldn't afford any waste. Food scraps weren't just scraps, they became ingredients for tomorrow's meals. This wasn't some romantic notion. Honestly, it was just necessary. Today, you can apply the exact same system. For example, when cooking rice, just cook double, then use the cool portion for fried rice or stuffed vegetables the next day. And when roasting vegetables, roast enough so the extras can be blended into a soup base. The technique really works because it reduces both money spent and time wasted, all while guaranteeing variety. In kitchens in 2025, leftovers aren't signs of scarcity. They're, well, engines of efficiency. The fourth trick is trading sugar for natural sweeteners. During the Second World War, rationing made sugar nearly impossible to get in many regions. So, households leaned heavily on honey, fruit syrups, and molasses. These weren't just substitutions. They actually reshaped entire dessert traditions. And today, with prices unpredictable and shelves sometimes inconsistent, you can use the same approach. Boil down apples into a thick apple syrup, or, if you like, use dates blended with water to sweeten oatmeal or baked goods. If sugar prices spike or supplies dip, you'll have an option that honestly tastes richer and preserves nutrition rather than reducing it. The fifth trick is converting garden surplus into shelf-stable food. Victory gardens didn't just exist for symbolic motivation. They produced real bulk harvests that needed preservation. Canning, pickling and fermenting were essential skills, not hobbies. For 2025 scarcity, this means turning seasonal abundance into long-term food security. If you grow tomatoes, convert excess into sauce jars using a boiling water bath. If you have too many cucumbers, pickle them using vinegar, salt and a clean jar. Fermented cabbage becomes sauerkraut that can last months. Once you learn the basics of sterilizing jars and using salt correctly, you immediately gain year-round nutrition. The sixth trick is using every edible part of an ingredient. Wartime cooks knew how to transform bones into broth, stalks into soup bases, stale bread into puddings, and beet greens into sautés. This wasn't thrift for the sake of thrift. It was a systematic recovery of nutrients. Apply it today by saving vegetable trimmings in a freezer bag and boiling them once full, creating broth without spending a cent. If you roast a chicken, boil the carcass afterward for 2 quarts of bone broth. If your bread goes stale, just cube it, dry it, and turn it into stuffing or breadcrumbs. You stretch your food budget instantly while reducing your household waste dramatically. The seventh trick is substituting freely with local or seasonal options. This strategy was crucial during the war because imported ingredients were often unavailable. In 2025, when shipping disruptions make certain foods expensive or erratic, this skill becomes just as useful. If potatoes spike in price, pivot to cassava or plantains. If wheat flour gets costly, well, you can just use oat flour for baking. Wartime recipe books taught cooks to adapt without fear, Following the same principle today, it really makes you flexible instead of dependent on those, unstable supply lines. The eighth trick is maintaining a stable pantry with slow rotations. WWII households didn't hoard. They cycled. They kept essentials stocked and used the oldest first in a constant loop. This is still one of the strongest defences against modern scarcity. Start by choosing core items: rice, oats, beans, flour, salt, vinegar, And, just keeping a modest surplus that you rotate naturally. When you buy a new bag of rice, place it behind the older one. And when you open the last jar of sauce, just remember to replace it during your next shopping trip. It's a quiet, steady system that prevents stress, prevents shortages, and honestly creates peace of mind. If you found this guide useful and want more historically grounded survival strategies, subscribe to Legacy of Survival and share this video with someone who takes history and preparedness seriously. Your support keeps this work alive.